This is Open Source Tonight for January the 29th, 2020, and I'm your host, Vincent Maggard. And today I'm joined by my wonderful co-host, Carmen Shields, and, of course, Jon Collins from the Easy Project. Say hi, everybody. How you doing today?
Hi, everybody. How you doing today?
Not literally that, but okay.
Hello once again, Internet. It's me, Carmen, coming right back at you. How are you doing today, Vincent?
I just did what you said, man. You know.
I got you. Well, you follow requests well.
It's EzeeLinux, by the way. Get it right.
Didn't I say EzeeLinux?
No, you said the Easy Project.
Oh. Sorry.
I don't know what that is.
The EzeeLinux project, everybody.
I like that. That's better. Thank you.
Yeah, sorry about that. All right, everybody. So today, of course, we're going to be talking about Linux and open source. And knowing the fact that Joe's here, be prepared for half of it to probably be something that has nothing to do with Linux, probably radio. But we're going to try and stick at least a little bit on Linux and open source this week. So without further ado, let's hop into the open source news. So, well, actually, first I'll ask how you all are doing. Why not? Just let's be polite. So, how was your all's week?
Wonderful.
Next question.
Next question. Okay, well, Joe's had a week that was closer to mine. Okay, that's
sleep,
great.
work, repeat. Sleep, work, repeat.
Exactly.
Pretty much. There you go. Next.
Okay, so let's talk about some Linux and open source news. First up in the docket this week, and of course you can jump in with any news stories you have, but I'll start us off here. LibreOffice 6.4 was released this week, and
boy.
So there you go. So there's really not too much to say about it. I mean, they made it faster. They didn't close source the thing. I mean, there's really not
faster, better, stronger.
Pretty much exactly. But there was one thing I thought that was really interesting that I seen here, is that they now have a built-in QR code generator. I'm not really sure how useful this is going to be in a document generator. I guess is there a use case for this?
Like if you're making a corporate document or like some sort of advertising material where you want people to scan their phones easily to find the link, I can see a use for that.
I guess I can see that.
Yeah, me too. Yeah, especially when you're doing the slides for the presentations.
True.
Because you know what a lot of people do, and I do it all the time. That's how I do all the thumbnails on my YouTube videos. Is I don't use GIMP or anything. I always use LibreOffice and drag images in.
Yeah, LibreOffice is good.
Yeah.
So
that.
It is pretty good. That's for sure. Anyway, automatic reduction mode has been added as well. So apparently now, if you're not good at redacting stuff, it will do it for you. I'm not really sure how that would work, but interesting feature. I guess the government will really like this. So
okay.
I guess the NSA will be downloading their updates right now. Yeah, so that's really, there's not too much to say about that. This week we're going to be talking main topic for the most part, but we got that. So let's see here. What else?
It's a real slow news week in the open source world, by the way.
Yeah, there sure has.
So whatever you're coming up with, I had no clue. So
Rocket League is dropping support for Linux. I mean, is any of us really here care? I don't. Do you care, Joe? Do you care, Carmen?
What is Rocket League? What is Rocket League?
It's a video game.
Oh. Okay. See ya.
I was going to say, I don't really play Rocket League, but I do think it's a shame that games are dropping support for Linux at a time where I think more people should be getting on board.
Yeah, but you also have to keep in mind that Steam has Proton and you can play anything.
That's true.
It doesn't matter. These individual game providers, they can come and go at will, but Steam's where it's happening, man.
Oh, definitely. I mean, Steam at this point, I don't even like video games, but I'm friends with people that love video games. I mean, there's some of the people I know that use Linux, they would not use Linux if it wasn't for Steam. I mean, honestly, that's just the facts. So,
well, Steam makes it happen. I mean, you can play anything that they have, and if Steam didn't run on Linux, my son wouldn't play games.
Yeah.
So there you go.
Yeah, exactly. And obviously, you got to play some games. I mean, about the only game I like, there's two games I like, Super Tux and Minecraft. One's open source, one's not. Can you guess which one's the open source one?
Don't know.
It's definitely Minecraft.
Nope,
it's only
right.
It's Super Tux actually. It's a Super Mario clone for Linux, and you play as the Tux Penguin. It's actually pretty fun.
I know what Super Tux is, but I always thought Minecraft was open source and free to the public, right?
What about regular Tux?
Good one, Carmen.
Never mind. Go on. Next story.
That's pretty much all we have. So we can.
That was it?
Yeah, this has been a really. Actually, wait, hold on.
Oh, that was fun. See y'all later. Nice being here.
Wait, hold up. There was one other big story here. I just seen this pop up. 10 new features in 5.5, the Linux kernel that just came out. So I don't care, but I'm sure someone does. Raspberry Pi support has been added. Apparently that wasn't there before. I just assumed it was. So
in the kernel? I thought
I thought that was already there, but the Raspberry Pi Mini computer.
The thing about the kernel is whenever you hear they got this new one coming and all this stuff is that if you're sitting on any sort of stable release like Ubuntu, you're just like, okay, nice.
Yeah, you're not going to get it for a while.
You can go and get it. There's a program that I can't remember the name of it now. It flew right out of my head that you can get, and you can pull down mainline kernels and put it in Ubuntu. I would not advise it.
It's not supported though, and it can cause you a lot of issues, right?
Yeah, well, I mean, it's just for the brave of heart. If you want to do it, go ahead. But
it's like the people that run Arch. Your system might break.
Daily. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Happen anytime. Well, some people like being on the edge. So if that's your thing, go ahead. Not me.
I'm friends with a fellow out of Pennsylvania. We mentioned him in the last show that me and you was on, actually. And he's one of these people that wants to be on the edge. I've been trying to get him to go to Linux for a long time. He keeps going to it and coming back to Windows, going to it and coming back. And he always wants to use on the cutting edge of Linux. And I keep trying to tell him, if you're on cutting edge, you're not going to be stable. And I don't know. Anyway, we may never convert him successfully, but he's at least tipping his feet in the water back and forth.
Putting his toe in the water. Is that what you were trying to say?
That's what I was trying to say. Exactly. That's exactly right. Yeah. SSD temperature information has been worked on related to NVMe SSDs on Linux machines with this new kernel. So you run some SSDs, don't you? So that will affect you, right?
Me?
Yeah.
No, I don't run anything that's that kind. Mine are the old school SATA SSDs.
Oh, okay. I got you.
Yeah.
I got
you.
I
run old computers that wouldn't be able to support that anyway unless I went out and bought a card and shoved it in a PCI slot, and I'm just not that fanatic about it.
Well, yeah, I don't blame you. So apparently they've added support for the Logitech gaming keyboard. No one cares. They've tweaked the ext4 file system. It already works. No one cares. This
exactly.
Is all this news. Honestly, is no one cares.
What did you do to ext4? It already works, man. Don't mess with it. Leave it alone. Thank you very much.
Yeah, don't break it. It works fine. This isn't Windows.
I've got it running on like 8 machines. Quit, man.
Yeah, I got it running on servers and all kinds of stuff. I mean, you don't want this stuff to break. Chromebook privacy mode improvements have been added to the Linux kernel. No one cares.
Linus is all about Chromebooks, so
yeah,
they're going to get that support, boy.
I got to say, that's one of the things that me and him disagree on. Is Chromebooks. I understand that they're good for normal users, but he says they're the future of the Linux desktop. I mean, I'm sorry. I'm going to go on a rant here now probably, but I mean, listen, they're great for normal users. But come on, my mom's a normal user. She can use Linux. It just, come on. Why can't we have the actual Linux desktop where it's actually an open environment? You can put desktop environments you want on it and theme it and, actually have control over it. Why can't we have that in Linux? Or not Linux, but why is it that when we do Linux on the desktop, it has to be a Chromebook? What? It makes me scratch my head.
Oh, there's like 100 distros out there, or like 1,000 or whatever it is. Don't worry about it. It's okay.
I mean, there's definitely choice.
I don't think they're going anywhere. It's all right.
Well, I mean, they're not, but it frustrates me that, he thinks that Chromebooks are the future. And maybe for normal consumers, they're the future, but I mean, I could probably say he's right on that.
Look at it from his point of view for a second. Think about this. He develops a kernel. That's what he works on, the Linux kernel. He doesn't care where it runs as long as people use it. That's it.
Yeah.
So if it's going in Chromebooks and Chromebooks are flying off the shelf and Google is making money hand over fist and then they're turning around and contributing to the Linux project and he's taking home buku cash, he's doing fine. Linux, the thing about people get on Linus's case all the time, or Linus, or however you want to pronounce his name. It can go either way. He doesn't care. But the thing is that they get on his case all the time, but all he focuses on is the kernel.
Yep.
Everything else is outside of his thing, and whatever he says.
That's his wheelhouse is the kernel, right? That's all he's interested in is making the kernel the best he can. And I mean, I don't blame him for doing that. I mean, one of the reasons I think Linux has become so successful is his, focus on that and let the rest of the community do the desktops and the distributions and, not try to do everything. One person, can only handle so much workload at a time.
Right. I'd like to add a point in here that think about this on my laptop or my workstation, like even for a power user like one of us, most of the time, a lot of what I'm doing is in Chrome. It's in the Chrome browser. All Chromebook is, even though they've added Linux app support in there now, is basically a big Chrome browser. That's all a lot of people need. If you're just checking your mail or you're just going online to look at things, going to Facebook, a lot of people don't need all the extra complexity.
Yeah, I could do what I do for the radio show as far as the other machine, the one that runs Linux right now. I could do what I do in a Chromebook. I don't know. Do Chromebooks have more than one desktop? Didn't they just add that?
I'm honestly not sure. I don't really deal with Chromebooks that much. I can
Me
Google
neither.
it. I don't know. That being said, there is some radio automation you can actually use from a web browser. Not mentioning anybody, but my client, Open Broadcaster, openbroadcaster.com, not a sponsor.
That's a conflict of interest.
Hey, it's open source. It's related. Anyway, so
Wide Orbit is better.
Wide Orbit is better. Uh-oh.
That's a Google product. Actually, do you want to know what the best radio automation is
And what's that?
that I ever used in 25 years of working in radio, 30 years in radio? The best one that I ever used was called iMedia Touch.
I don't think I've heard of that one. That's like, I think that's one from the UK, isn't it? There was something named similar to that, I think, from the UK.
I don't know where. I've forgotten. It's been so long since I used it. They are out of the. No, they're in the United States, I believe.
Yeah, let me see. I just found their website. They got a US number, so I'm going to guess US.
Yes, and they that was probably one of the most stable, smoothest ones I ever used, and I used a bunch of them.
It looks like
And
now
that
they
was-
just do hosting, though. I guess they're out of the radio automation business. Maybe they just
Don't
sold
know.
their name.
The thing is I was out of radio completely for 12 years, and I now that I've
Wait,
come back
actually,
to it on
I found it. Their website domain is not iMedia Touch or whatever. It's like omt.net. For
it's
those
OMT
listening.
Media Touch, yeah.
Yeah, so I found it. Yeah, and they are in the U.S. from what I can tell here. So that's pretty cool. It looks like they do have a web version too. Or no, this is storage. Anyway, this is off topic, but I warned everybody this was going to happen. So
Well, that has nothing to do with Linux because none of these run on Linux.
yeah, there is a little bit of radio automation that runs on Linux. Open Broadcaster does, and then Rivendell, which is not affiliated with me in any way. They also run on Linux, but that's pretty much it. So I would argue Rivendell is good for non-community stations like commercials, and then Open Broadcaster is good for community. That's what I would argue.
Yeah, and there's probably one person in the audience that even knows what we're talking about. So move on.
We're talking about the software that plays the jingles, the music, the legal IDs, all that stuff.
We're
for your
talking
station.
about the robots that run radio stations today.
Exactly. They used to pay a poor soul to play discs, the 45s and stuff like that. I mean, I wasn't around long enough to actually know about that, but anyway,
My-
the point.
Oh,
My
Lord.
father-
Yeah,
I
go on.
apologize. I was going to
No,
say
you go ahead.
my father in high school was a disc jockey for his high school at a radio station. But me personally, I've never dealt with vinyl
Where'd your dad
much.
go to high school?
Should I say this on the air?
It won't hurt.
York.
Oh, yeah. Oh, my goodness. What was the guy's name that ran that program? I know him well. I can see his face. York County radio station, WYCS. Yes. But I can't remember the man's name. Anyway,
Well,
we're off topic. Keep
Joe
going.
is thinking deep into his mind here. But to try to get us back on topic here, there was actually something I think that you just recently made a video on, so we can dive into that topic. I think it'd be really cool, is PC
All right.
Linux OS. You really seem to take an interest in that OS. You made a video about it recently, and you kind of got me interested.
that was one of those let's load it and see what happens videos. And it did actually quite well. I was really surprised by how many people watched it. It was that was some people don't get those videos, and I love it when people come on and say you're doing a disservice to the distro by blah blah blah. I'm not doing anything. They have a thing. I downloaded it. I'm looking at it. This is my experience.
Yeah, exactly.
I tell you up front in the beginning of the video, I do not know what I'm doing, and that I'm an idiot. Okay?
And this is
So
not a
have fun
review.
Exactly. Have fun from there.
Yeah.
But
and I love those videos, by the way. I mean, they're really good. So
it's a really good distro. I mean, don't take, like for some reason or another, it ran super slow in that Box's virtual machine, and it just bogged down, which is funny because I've not had that problem with Box's virtual machines.
yeah, normally it works pretty good.
Yes, it works really well because it's based on QEMU and KVM and whatever the unders is of it. And when I put that one in, it just didn't like it. And I was making this thing, and
KVM is actually part of the Linux kernel, so I mean that's the best, from what I can gather, the best way to virtualize under Linux because it's built right in, right? So,
I guess I don't know. I used to be an expert on VirtualBox, and I gave up on it about a year or two ago because it got for some reason on my hardware, it was running so slow that it was to the point where it was not useful anymore.
Yeah.
That you couldn't get anything done. And I kept asking around, and a lot of people said, yeah, that's a problem and they need to fix it and blah, blah, blah. And I said, well, forget it. I've got to find something else. So I just installed GNOME boxes to see what it would do.
Yep.
And it worked. And I said, okay, I lost some features, but for what I do with virtual machines and the way I use them, it works perfectly fine.
Yeah,
I got no problem.
Well, I mean, so I use virtual machines for testing and stuff and things like that too. And sometimes I'll use them to make videos. My CentOS 8 video, which is for some reason a really popular video. It's like, I'm surprised how many people wanted to watch that video. Over the past
CentOS 8 is cool. I mean, I'll go watch that video.
Well, it's a few months old, so you can add a view count to it. I'll send you an email with the link.
I'm running 7 right now on the server. So at this point, and then on CentOS 7, we were talking about kernels. They're still running like, what is it, 3.12?
Yeah, they're running like some old stuff. I mean, that's what CentOS and Red Hat always do. They're we will take our sweet time to get you to anything remotely.
Well,
new.
It's all about stability. I mean, I have had the EzeeLinux server has been running off the same install for how long now? 2-something years. It has never crashed.
Yep.
It has never locked up. It just runs.
Well, I used to have an HP server here, and it would run for really long amounts of time with CentOS. I had a free PBX installation. It's a phone system thing, an open source phone system, and runs on CentOS. And I'll tell you right now that the only problem around here was the power would go off, and that would make my uptime go down when the power goes off. But as far as, I never had problems with it just crashing, so it was very stable.
I just had an uptime over the holidays on the EzeeLinux server of 34 days.
Yeah. I mean, I've heard of really long uptimes before on CentOS.
And the only reason that ended is that I have a policy that every time that I run updates, regardless of what it is, I bounce it. I'll reboot it every time. And technically, I don't have to do that, but it's just I go ahead and do that to make sure everything comes up the way it should.
Unless you have to do kernel updates, there's not a need for it, is my understanding. I may be incorrect on that, but that's my understanding.
I work with a fellow named Jeremy O'Connell with CyberWeb Solutions in Atlanta, and he is the guy who built all this stuff. He is my guru, and I go to him. Yeah. And he told me, he said, look, you see Python come down, you see a Python update, you see MySQL update, bounce it.
Yep.
Don't because he said that it's supposed to work, but sometimes it doesn't. So we're just out on abundance of safety. That's exactly what I do.
I got you. Oh, I don't blame you. I mean, I usually reboot when I update too, just like you said, out of that caution thing. But
now on Ubuntu, like if it's a desktop, I can see what the updates are usually, and I go, that doesn't need to be rebooted. And sometimes I'll let them just run. But if we just had a kernel update come down, so I'm going to have to go around this house, and I'm going to have to restart 8 machines, actually 9, and we're going to have to reboot everything. So that can be a challenge.
Well, that's actually, I had an idea for a program I thought about writing and open sourcing, and that's related to that, having a bunch of machines to manage. And it's kind of like an overkill bash script, honestly, is what it is. But I was going to make like a little Python, little GUI app. And what you would do is you'd go and, set up all your machines in there, what IPs they're at and stuff. And it would basically, with keys, SSHN, check what updates there is, and then automatically run and update them and
That
let
would
you
be
see what they're doing.
Actually, that's not complicated. It's not hard to do at all. What you do is you don't even need Python for that. All you need is a script.
Yeah. Well, I know you can do it with
Bash.
script. I just wanted to
And then you
overkill
could
it.
you could just have, if you've got keys, SSH keys on every
It
machine.
won't ask for passwords. Yep.
Exactly. You can broadcast. Well, there is a difficulty with that because you're going to have to approve it on. It
On
will
each
come up and
machine.
ask for approval. Yeah. Because usually when you log in through SSH, you're not automatically given it root access. So.
Well, one of the things that I wanted to do with this program, and I mean it's technical. I don't know if I actually do it. I don't have time. But Python, there's a Python library that connects directly to apt. It's not even talking to the command line, right? And what I was thinking was like having like a little management, daemon that would sit there and connect, right? And
I see. So you could give that root privileges.
Yeah, and
or pseudo privileges.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Probably better to give it pseudo privileges than regular root privileges. That would
anything that's running as a daemon is automatically pseudo privileges anyway. It's just how you set it up.
Oh yeah, it depends. With systemd, you can set it as a normal user, but you're right. I think by default it goes as root. So that's
okay.
That's my understanding. But anyway, that's a little over my head, to be honest. I'd have to Google it and figure it out. But that was an idea I had for a program. So who knows? Maybe I'll build that at some point. I got a lot of ideas for stuff I ain't built because I just don't have time. But PC Linux.
I like to watch them.
You like to watch
I like to watch them update and to make sure everything goes the way it's supposed to. So even though I've thought about, because it's easy to do. I mean, because you could use Anacron.
That's true. You can do Anacron
to literally do it. It's a 3-line script. You put it in Anacron and it will update completely in the background. And then of course, Ubuntu has the live patch.
Yep. So it will patch your kernel and not have to reboot.
Exactly. And I don't trust it as far as I can throw it. So the thing is that I would just rather, as old school as it is, I'd rather watch it do what it's going to do and know what it's updating when it happens.
Yeah.
So I have been burnt by a couple of updates in the past, and it's very rare because I don't want any new people that are listening to this show trying to learn about Linux to go, oh, that can happen. Well, anything can happen. A meteorite can come flying out of the sky and hit you right now. But what I'm saying is,
but it's not likely.
It's not likely, but it can happen. I like to know what's being updated. And if I see like NVIDIA drivers go by, it's like, I better pay attention to that.
That's a reboot, yeah. Yeah, I always reboot after NVIDIA drivers. Now, actually, an interesting question for you about doing server work, because, I do server work too, just for my servers as of right now. Now, one thing about servers for me is I have a bunch of them to update. And so that's the one place where I'm like you, I want to watch it update, but I have so many servers to keep track of. Honestly, I forget to update them, for periods of time. So unless I see a security bulletin, I'm not going to check updates as often. So that's really not the best practice, right? So I'm thinking maybe for those, build a little bash script, like you said, and, do a cron task, because they don't have Anacron on CentOS. That's what my servers all run. So, But, that's what I'm thinking. Have you ever considered auto-updating your servers for that, or you're more like,
no.
I don't want to risk it on a server?
No, I want to watch it.
Yeah.
And I just have, actually right now, I just have one.
Yeah.
So it's if I had 10 of them, then it might be a different
automating
story,
it might be more likely.
That might be something, I'd look at. But right now, for me personally, I only have one to deal with. So, and the machines that I administer in the house and for family members and stuff like that, I keep up with. But it's not that big.
What's your update policy? How often do you say, I'm going to go and check to see if there's updates and do patching on my servers, my desktops, etc.?
As soon as they show up.
So you patch as soon as you hear about a security vulnerability. That's when you go patch. You don't wait.
I wait for them to tell me.
Oh yeah.
And that's it. I have it set up to notify me. I am big on. I have those update notifiers running on every machine, and it will pop up on my account. If I get one, then I update them all.
Well, that's what I do too. What about the server stuff though? I mean, when it comes to servers, do you just periodically log in? Because that's what I've been doing, and just do a yum update, or do you just like?
That's exactly what I do. I do about once a week.
About once a week. I got you. I do it about once a month. Probably should change to once a week, but
I go in and I just have a thing. I just log into the server and then I run this little utility that I have called CheckSys, which I wrote, which is basically it shows me the memory status and the swap status, and it shows me what the hard drive is doing, and it shows me the uptime.
Yep. I remember you making a video about that.
And then if that looks good, then I run sudo yum update, and then if it says there's no updates, then I just exit and leave the thing alone.
Makes sense. Yeah, I mean, it's pretty simple to keep CentOS updated. I'm guessing you probably know about this with Yum, but you can actually, just like on apt, you can do attack Y and it will just auto update as soon as it checks if there is any. So that's one option if you don't want to have to say yes. But I'm guessing you did that in your checksys. So.
No, checksys just looks. It doesn't.
It doesn't tell you.
Because it's not all. Checksys is a little script that the original idea behind it. By the way, I just posted a video about a bunch of scripts that I released 2 days ago.
I already watched it this morning.
And that particular, the original idea behind the checksys thing was to tack it onto the end of Bash RC.
Oh, interesting.
So that what it would do is every time that you would open a terminal, it would automatically display this stuff.
Yeah, you just see it every time you open one.
Yeah, and then I have these crazy ideas that I want to do stuff like that, and then I say I don't like that. So it never actually ended up being that way. So it ended up being just a little alias for all of those different commands, and that's what it does. So you can get it if you want it. You can just go to EzeeLinux.com and
I'm on the GitHub.
To the Bash script. Go to the Bash scripts page and go all the way to the bottom.
So it's not on the GitHub. I need to go to the Bash scripts page. Okay.
No, that'll get you to GitHub. It's on GitHub, but I have links to the GitHub page there and direct download from GitHub.
Alrighty, I got you.
So it's easier. It's easier to tell somebody who's learning, go to my page.
Yep. And that will take you to GitHub.
There's a link over there, and they don't understand GitHub and all that stuff.
Yeah.
I have a lot of people that pull down stuff. I hear from that pull down stuff that I share. They don't necessarily run it. They just look at it and try and figure out how it works.
Yeah, see, I've done that with some of your stuff. Some of your stuff I've used. One program I actually tried to use that you made, which I wanted to do, to actually use for this podcast, actually, for the video version, because it's just that one image, right? If you've ever looked at the video, is because it's just audio, so we just put that thumbnail up there, right? Is the P2V script. But every time I ran it, it always would give me issues. I don't know if I got a different version of FFmpeg than you somehow or what, but for some reason...
What are you running it on?
1804 as of right now.
It's written for 1804. It should run perfectly fine on 1804.
Interesting.
I've never had an... I have to admit, I don't use it all the time. I've never relied on it, so I don't know what issues you'd come across.
Yeah.
But read the order in which you put the files in makes a big difference.
Yeah, because the way you're doing it, you're not using flags, so you actually have to put in the files in the right order.
Right.
Yeah. I seen the source a while back, and I did it in the right order if I recall correctly. But the error that I got, I remember what it was. It was an error that it couldn't find a particular encoder FFmpeg wanted to use. I don't remember if it was FLAC or if it was...
It was FLAC.
Yeah, probably.
So all you got to do is install FLAC, and that really...
Is it libflac or what is it? What's the package?
No, it's FLAC, F-L-A-C.
So it's just FLAC.
Sudo apt install FLAC.
I thought I had that installed already, but I'm checking right now.
Well, I don't know that if it can't find FLAC, it'll kick it back out. One of the things that you can do is to make sure that you have FFmpeg up and running is to, I think,
FLAC is already installed on the machine that I tested.
Okay, in the documentation, I don't remember whether I mentioned it or not, but to make sure you get the latest FFmpeg and all the crap that goes with it.
Add the PPA?
No, you run sudo apt install Ubuntu restricted extras.
Oh, okay. That might be the problem. I may be running on an older version.
That pulls down everything. So that's assumed that you've done that, and it's all there.
Okay. I got it.
Because Ubuntu, as you install it, doesn't give you every...
Yep.
The codec selection is actually really sort of spotty.
It is, yeah.
So you have to go and do that. In other words, the way Ubuntu is written is that as you come up and you need a codec, it'll offer it to you.
Yeah.
So I just do that up front. I never even thought about that. Thank you for bringing that to my attention.
Oh, you're welcome. I actually just looked, though. That's also already enabled. So I have no idea what it is. Maybe I just used it wrong.
It's just that you just messed it up. You're doing something wrong. You're screwing things up, man. Well, it ain't got nothing to do with me.
What it might have been, one time I actually manually compiled FFmpeg on one of my machines. Maybe I did that on this machine, and that overrode the apt install. So maybe I'll just clear that out and fix it and see if that helps.
And the other thing about that is that it's honestly really looking for... It works best if you start with a JPEG image.
Oh, I was using a PNG, so that's... That's probably the
It
problem.
works best if you start with a JPEG image and a WAV file or an MP3.
Okay. Well,
Those are the two it likes best.
All right. Well, I record the podcast and edit it in WAV, so I always have a WAV master, so that would be no problem. And then I'll down compress to MP3. I don't like MP3, but unfortunately, that's what the podcast
Sometimes if you're doing that, you have to pull from MP3. If you have a podcast that you're rendering to MP3, or like in my case, I have a bunch of radio air checks that were MP3s, then it needs to be able to do that, because that's what that's written for.
Oh, yeah. Well, no, I mean, I get that there's MP3 files you need to be able to pull, but I don't like MP3s. You know what I'm saying? They're not as good quality as a WAV.
Well, yeah, no, from a quality point of view, I understand, but I'm just saying that that's what works best with the program, and you're confusing the issue and muddying the waters.
Well, I'm not intending to confuse the issue. I'm just simply saying that WAVs are better than MP3 if you have the choice for those recording.
Well, there's no difference there. Now, let's set the record straight, kids. There is no audible difference between a FLAC and a WAV. There is no audio compression that takes place when you create a FLAC. A FLAC is nothing more than a zip file for audio.
Yeah.
It does not remove any data.
Yeah, because it's also lossless, just like WAV, so that's true.
But I will tell you one thing that I have found out the hard way. Bracero does not like working with FLAC files.
Interesting. Anyways, there was another thing I wanted to talk about ever since that Carmen has been on here. And Joe, I know you've dealt with this a little bit in the past based on watching your videos, so you can feel free to chime in on this topic. But one thing that a lot of people complain about on Linux, and I have my issues with it, but I don't think I think it's overhyped as being a problem, and that is video production on Linux. I edit video on Linux just fine. I'm not doing feature-length movies or anything, but I've got YouTube videos I've been editing on Linux for several years and stuff like that, and I'm actually looking to make a movie eventually, a documentary about Eastern Kentucky, so check that out when it comes out eventually. But anyway, the long story short is, to me, Linux video editing has gotten a lot better, but what I'd like to see is Olive take off. So what about you, Joe? Do you think that, I know you don't edit your videos anymore, but do you think that people that say you can't actually edit video on Linux, do you think these people are full of crap at this point? Or do you think maybe they've got some points? The codec support seems to be there for me. I mean, you can do ProRes and all these other pro video codecs on Linux now and stuff like Kdenlive and Olive. I mean, I'm trying to figure out, what are they complaining about?
They're complaining about workflow.
Yeah, that's exactly right. That's the only complaint I can see.
Yeah, they're not saying that you can't do it on Linux. They're saying that I can't do it on Linux because I have been using Final Cut Pro or Avid or something else for so many years that if you sit me down in front of KDN, or you sit me down in front of Kdenlive, I don't know what the hell to do.
Yeah, I will say the one issue I have with Linux video production, you can do a lot with it, and companies like Pixar do their animation on Linux, so you can totally do it. The big issue I have with it is Kdenlive. I want to use it, and I used to use it all the time. But the thing I hate about Kdenlive, and Kdenlive developers, I hope you're listening, because Vincent really wants you to fix this. I'm more than happy to help you commit code patches for this if I could figure out how to do it. Honestly, it's above my head, but maybe y'all could teach me, and then I could help you commit some stuff. But here's the thing. The big thing I have against Kdenlive is two things. Well, really one thing. But the big thing I have against it is that they don't have GPU acceleration in the preview view, and it's really annoying to me because when you're playing back a video, right? You're editing it and you're playing it back. The first like 2 or 3 seconds is and anytime you have an effect, it's got and it's like really bad dropping frames, and I can't really see what my edit is in Kdenlive after I render it. And compare that to Olive, which is alpha, and it even has GPU previews that work great. So, I'd like to see the Kdenlive developers, get the hint that that's a good idea. I don't understand why that they took years to think that was a good idea. They did a blog post a while back saying they were slowly adding some support for it. So I guess they're finally thinking it's a good idea, but it's just, what took them so long,
One of the things that you have to keep in mind is that when you are, open source is really good at simple, quick, dirty tools that get stuff done. Very good at it. It's easy.
Yep.
I can write stuff like that. You can write stuff like that.
Carmen can write
know
stuff
what I mean?
like that, probably.
Carmen can write stuff like that, and we
Hey.
can we can.
That
no,
was
I'm
a good,
not, I'm
that
not
was
saying
a good
this in a
thing.
bad way. Now, what
Oh,
I'm
you're
saying
good,
is,
Joe.
what I'm saying is that one person can manage it.
Yeah.
Oh, I was saying
Okay.
more hey at Vincent because he was the one who started it.
Yeah. Well, okay.
I didn't
one
mean it in a
person-
bad way.
A small project, one person can manage.
Or a small
manage
team,
it.
exactly.
Right,
Yeah.
small
Right.
team, 2 or 3 people work on something. Great, we can write this program. When you are dealing with audio editors, CAD software,
Video production.
editors, we are talking about
Big
huge,
code bases that have to be
big
maintained.
code bases, and it all matters.
Oh yeah.
And then, so when you're dealing with something like an Avid, or you're dealing with Final
I
Cut
acknowledge
Pro,
it's a big problem to solve.
you got or the Adobe people.
Yeah.
You have a big team of paid programmers
full
that's
time
what
to take
they
care
do.
of it. Exactly.
Okay, so now you're going to try and do this in an open source environment, and you're going to have this done. And also, by the way, you're going to do this in an environment where the base shifts constantly.
Yep.
That's the problem. And
Well, video production's always changing. I mean, used to everybody was shooting in ProRes, and now there's raw video that's taken off, and everybody the high end shooting raw.
yeah, and all of that stuff. Everything is moving so fast, and that tends
And
to
the
be
other thing about the raw is that the codecs are all proprietary, so I don't even know if they get licensing for that.
Now, if everybody who wanted these features from Kdenlive or whatever editor you use would reach into their pocket and send them $100,
Yep.
then it would happen.
Yeah. Well, I'll
It's
tell you
all
right now,
about money.
I would definitely, I'm a software developer. I make good money. I would definitely, Kdenlive developers, I'd give them $100 if they could make these happen. But like you said, it would have to be more than just me, wouldn't it? It'd have to be the whole community being able to chip
The
in.
whole community would have to stand up and say, okay, we really want these features. We know you guys are underfed and overworked and all this other stuff here. Now here's a foundation. It's a bunch of money. Now go off and do it.
Well, that's
And
what
if you
Blender did, and look at them.
Exactly.
Like you said,
Yeah, exactly.
they're really great. I love Blender. I do animation in that a little bit. I'm a novice, but it's good, and it's very stable. So
Yeah,
like you said, we could get there with Kdenlive.
And the other thing is that you got to understand that when you're looking at Adobe, for instance, everybody compares everything to Adobe. Adobe is the reason why it's such bloatware is that they create their own environments.
Yep, it's all custom.
It's all custom, and they insulate themselves from the OS.
Yeah, they do.
And what they do is, and they do this with every program that they write, is that they have it where as long as they get A, B, and C resource from the computer,
they handle everything else.
Then they handle everything else, and it's all custom in-house.
I mean, even the GUI in Adobe apps, because I've dug into this because I'm a nerd, Even that, it's like, I think it's like an HTML5 weird, like Electron wrapper these days. It's not even like actually native, which by the way makes me think, people are, say it would be hard for them to move it. And I mean, I don't know their code base, but if it's as much emulation and, non-OS connected as possible as it is these days, and they're doing rendering with like OpenGL and stuff like that. I mean, I don't know if they're using OpenGL, but if they were, I just wonder how hard it would be to do the port. But like you said, I understand that, Linux and open source is a big target market that's, it's always shifting. There is good editors, I should say, by the way, for Linux that are proprietary, which I'm actually not above using. I mean, I like open source, but I'm willing to use the tool that gets the job done. And there's let's see, there's Lightworks, which is really good. Lightworks has edited feature-length films that have run awards. Don't like Lightworks. We've established this now.
Horrible piece of software. Oh my god.
I mean, I'll say this: they designed it for an editing workstation. Let's be sure about this.
They design it for somebody who's from Mars and can figure out that crazy workflow.
Well, they designed it honestly, Joe. They designed it for a video editor for TV and for movies, right? They didn't design it for us to make YouTube videos.
I've seen those editors. I still can't figure it out.
Well, I'll grant you this: their new design's better. Their old design was really crazy.
Well, I do have to say that there's some software in this world that comes along that I can never use.
Yeah.
And there's just some things I don't understand. I'll never forget many, 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 many years ago when you all were still peeing in your diapers. This recording thing came out from Roland. It was this box, and it had a hard drive built into it, and it was like a 4-track mixer. It was like a all-in-one DAW in a box.
Nice.
And it was this is about 1997, and I was doing some freelance engineering for this station, and they put one in, and I could never run it. I couldn't use it. I just couldn't. I even took the manual home and read it and went, I have no clue.
You just couldn't wrap your head around it.
If you guys can figure out how to use it, I can hook it up. But if you guys can use it, that's great. I have no idea how this thing works.
Well,
and so there are certain stuff like that my brain just does not compute. Just never mind. So.
Well, all right, bringing up eBay right now.
Well, I'll tell you right now. Yeah, it sounds like a cool thing. I kind of like to try that. I don't know if I get my head around it either. It seems like me and Joe, we have a lot of the same issues understanding stuff. It seems like based on what he said in his videos. So I don't know if I'd be able to understand. Maybe Carmen would. He's a pretty smart guy.
So you and Joe are the same. No, I'm just kidding.
I mean, we have a lot of similarities. I don't think saying that we're the same is probably not accurate, but similar in many ways, I think is pretty good.
And now Joe's slowly walking away.
Yeah, walking away from the mic. One thing I will say about the Olive video editor, the reason I like it, I'll be honest, it's because it's Premiere Pro on Linux, basically. Because I like Premiere Pro. It's got preview monitor, it's got program monitor, it's got easy ways to make sequences, and to me, it just, honestly, they act like that they cloned Premiere Pro to me.
Well, let me tell you what. If I had to edit videos to put them on YouTube, I wouldn't do it.
Yeah, I'm not surprised. I would just quit.
I would quit uploading videos. Years ago when it first started out, I used like Windows Movie Maker.
Yep.
And that was it. And when it got where when I switched over to Linux, I just stopped editing videos simply because of the fact that I looked at Kdenlive and I went, this is not. It's the time involved.
Well, video editing is very time inducive, that's for sure.
It's very time consuming to do all those edits and everything, and then you have to wait for it to render, and then you have to wait for it to upload and all that stuff. So I just got to a place where I said I'm just going to do what they call live to tape.
Yep.
And that is you just do the show, and it's like how they used to do the talk shows like the Tonight Show and stuff like that. And they still do.
Well, I'll tell you right now.
They just do the show.
I'll tell you right now, what I actually want to do as far as video, you talk about doing live to tape. I want to do live to tape as well. I like editing, I do, but honestly, I do want to be able to do live to tape because when you do live to tape, like you said, it's less work for you. And, I'm not going to lie, I'm a little lazy. I mean, come on, when you have to take like 2.5 hours to edit a video, and then you have to wait for it to render, that's annoying, or you could just not do that. So one of the things I really wanted to do, I got a Blackmagic capture card and I got a couple camcorders, and what I wanted to actually do was set this up with OBS Studio, right? I know that you say OBS is over your head. You've said that in a video before, but the thing about it is I like OBS. I mean, yeah, it's a little complicated, but the thing about it is that I like is I can switch using the keyboard. I've got some keys set up where I can switch between each input on it, right? And what I want to do is use that card, have a couple cameras, plug my mic in, and just hit record on OBS. Say, hey everybody, it's Vincent. Welcome to the video. Well, let's go look at this program. We switch to the desktop. We look at it. We switch back to the camera for my reaction. Thanks for watching the video. Hit stop. Tack a end logo thing at the end, copyright notice or whatever I need.
Yeah,
and done.
I looked at all that. When there was a point in time where I thought maybe I would move in that direction because a lot of people on YouTube were doing that.
Yeah.
And I looked at it and went, okay, I can't see this. I can't do this. I don't understand it. I'm not going to worry about it.
Well, for the record, Joe, I want to say, I'm not saying you need to do this or that this is the right way to do it. And honestly, I love your videos the way they are. I really do. I'm not just saying this. One of the things I like about your videos, and I know you say some people don't like your videos being long. I like long videos. I'm the guy that will watch 2-hour-long YouTube videos.
I am too. All my favorite YouTubers are guys that post,
long stuff.
Long stuff. I like it. For me, it's entertainment. I have a 4K television. I watch YouTube on it. I sit there and eat popcorn and watch videos, and that's what I do.
When I came home from school back in the day when I still went to school, I had a Roku on my TV. This was back before the days of 4K, obviously, but and what I would do is I'd come home and I would watch on the Roku. I'd watch. I don't think YouTube was on the Roku at this time, but what I would do, the Twit Network, the This Week in Tech Network, right? They do these like podcasts. Most of them are 2 hours long. Security Now, I love to listen to that. I watch it actually, but I like to watch that. This Week in Tech. The Tech Guy sometimes, stuff like that. And so what I'll do is I'll go and watch those shows, and they're like 2 hours apiece. And I'll just watch, that's kind of my daily routine. Like, for example, yesterday, the new Security Now came out. I'm going to go and watch that probably later this evening, and I'm just going to sit there and play it in one big long piece like I usually do. So I'm the same way, but I'm okay with short form. I don't hate it. And
I don't hate it either. I mean, I'm not saying that anybody has to do this or the other thing. It depends on what you're trying to get accomplished and everything.
Does.
But for me, it's just all my videos run about a half hour.
Yeah.
It's either a half hour or an hour.
Yeah.
And I set out and go, how long am I going to do this? This is what it is.
Yeah.
And that's how I do it. And that's like normal television show times.
Yep, it is. Well,
and then people get all butthurt about that because they'll see a title and they'll think, oh, this is one of those stupid little 5-minute vids that goes, you do this, this, and this, and this, and there you go.
Yeah.
And that's not what I do. And then they get it depends on how people use the platform, and some people are right snotty about it. And they're like, well, I cannot. I mean, weekly the videos are too long. Your videos are too long.
Yeah.
Your videos are too long. And then the other thing is that I keep getting subscribers, and it keeps going up and up and up and up and up.
Yeah,
and
clearly
I get
people enjoy
go,
it.
I love your videos. So guess what?
Well,
those of you who are complaining about the videos being too long, stuff it.
Yeah.
There's a YouTuber I watch, and this really reminds me, like, occasionally, like, he'll talk about how one YouTuber says something like, oh, this is bad, and someone else will come in and say, this is good. Like, that's just... I feel
It's
like
all
that's just how
opinion.
the internet is. You're never going to find...
Well, I know, and the thing is that I just posted a blog post today about the internet. You can look at it at Easy Talk. And the thing is about dealing with social networks and stuff like that. And any time that you comment on that, people don't get it, and they don't understand what you're trying to say, or they, and this one was very tongue-in-cheek. I'm just making fun of people, basically, in this thing.
We should probably go ahead and start wrapping this show up. Is there anything you two want to bring up here before we end the show? Anything you'd like to promote, or anything open source or Linux you'd like to bring up here real quick before we end today's episode?
Let Carmen go first.
Nothing really to bring up here. Just glad to be on with you guys. I've had a good time. Maybe next time I can get some more words in. And that's not directed at Joe. That's not directed at you, Joe.
Oh, man. No, man, you got to jump up and jump in. That's all there is to it. You got to say, hey, shut up, I'm here. It's okay.
Yeah, exactly. We got to just talk over
true.
each other. That's the kind of shows I run. Nobody's
Honestly,
really like given time.
I haven't put enough thought into open source as much as I should. I'll admit it, being on open source podcast. I need to get my foot back in the game.
Pitchforks, everybody.
It's fun listening. It's fun listening, putting in a point, and just getting my foot out there, head in the water. What the heck?
Well, you got to start
well,
somewhere.
I mean, at this point, I mean, we've gone on for so long, I wonder who is out there. But I will say that everything starts with EzeeLinux.com. Everything starts with EzeeLinux.com, EzeeLinux.com. You can get to the YouTube channel, the Facebook page, Easy Talk, all the bash scripts we talked about. Everything's there. Have fun. Go for it. Talk to you soon.
Exactly.
Likewise, if you want to find out anything more about me, I make YouTube videos. It's been a while, but I want to get back into it. CarmenShields.com. You can go check out my content. I'm just out here making moves, I guess you could say. It's more of a variety channel. I'll talk about travel, some adventures, some opinion, a little bit of everything. So if you're into that, check it out. There might be more coming down the timeline soon.
Yep. And folks, you can always find me at VincentMaggard.com. And you can find me on YouTube at Vincent Maggard. Also, just so everyone knows, of course, me and Carmen created Open Source Tonight. You can find the podcast you're listening to right now at OpenSourceTonight.com. Show notes and more are there, as well as our YouTube channel, Open Source Tonight. Look us up online. Until next week, thanks for listening to Open Source Tonight. This is Vincent, Joe, and Carmen signing off. Good night, everybody.